Let's talk about what it's really like. Not the Instagram posts, not the wedding day smiles. I'm talking about after the music stops and the mask slips. And first, he's charming, thoughtful, funny. He'll look at you like you're the only woman in the world, and you'll believe it. Why wouldn't you? But here's the catch. That charm isn't a steady flame. It's bait. And once you're hooked, it's no longer about you. From then on, the stage lights stay on him. Every conversation, every decision, every victory, it all circles back to his favorite topic, himself. And your needs? Well, they're important, but somehow always less important than his. Then comes the gaslighting. It's like living in a funhouse mirror, except you're not laughing. He'll twist facts, rewrite events, and deny things you know happened. Eventually, you start to question your own memory, not because you're wrong, but because he's relentless. And here's a classic move. Criticism dressed up as help. Oh, I'm just trying to make you better. Translation, you're not good enough unless you're exactly how I want you. And it's never enough. Love in his world isn't unconditional. It's a vending machine. You put in praise, obedience, or admiration, and maybe you'll get affection in return. Maybe. Over time, without even realizing it, you start disappearing. Not physically, but emotionally. You edit yourself, shrink your dreams, lower your voice, just to keep the peace. And one day you wake up and wonder, where did I go? This isn't marriage. It's a one-man show where you've been cast as the supporting role in your own life. And the truth is, once you see it for what it is, you can't unsee it. At first, he's everything you ever dreamed of. Charming, attentive, attuned to your every word, as if the world stops when you speak. He'll listen. He'll remember the little details. He'll make you feel like you finally found the person who understands you without you having to explain yourself. It feels intoxicating. Like the universe finally got something right. He knows exactly what to say, exactly when to say it, and exactly how to make you feel like you're the most important person in his life. And in those early days, you genuinely believe you are. But this charm has an expiration date, though you won't see it coming. It doesn't vanish overnight. No, it fades quietly, replaced piece by piece with something colder, harder, and far less loving. One day, you notice the conversations feel different. The way he looks at you isn't as warm. The smiles are still there, but they don't reach his eyes the way they used to. The listening turns into interrupting. The understanding turns into dismissing. The flowers he once brought just because start to feel like souvenirs from a man you used to know. That's because the charm was never meant to be permanent. It was a tool, a hook. The honeymoon phase was the sales pitch, and you bought it because it felt real. But to him, it was an investment. And now, he's cashing in. Once he's sure you're emotionally tied to him, maybe financially, maybe through marriage, maybe with kids, he starts shifting from romance to control. It's subtle at first. He might frame it as looking out for you. He'll say things like, I just want what's best for us, or I know you better than you know yourself. But slowly, those words start building fences around you. It could be little criticisms about the way you dress, but wrapped in something that sounds like concern. I'm not saying you look bad. I just think you look better in something else. It could be questioning how you spend your time. Why do you need to go out with them? We could just stay in. And if you push back, it's turned into a joke. Relax, I'm just messing with you. But you can feel that it isn't a joke at all. Eventually, the things you once did freely start to feel like you need permission for them. He might even have to say the word no outright. His disapproval will be written all over his face, and you'll start adjusting your choices just to avoid the tension. And that's exactly what he wants, for you to start policing yourself so he doesn't have to do it openly. In his mind, this isn't control, it's leadership. He convinces himself, and sometimes convinces you, that he's just steering the ship in the right direction. But the right direction always seems to benefit him, never you. Your opinions, once valued and celebrated, start to feel like inconveniences. Your independence, once admired, is now framed as stubbornness. The very traits he fell in love with, or at least pretended to, become the ones he tries to strip away. You might even catch yourself missing the man he used to be without realizing that man was never real. That version of him was a mask designed to pull you in, and now that you're here, the mask isn't needed. This realization can be painful because it forces you to face the fact that the love you thought you had was conditional from the start. By the time you see the shift clearly, you might already feel trapped, unsure how to leave, unsure if you're overreacting, unsure if maybe it's your fault. That uncertainty isn't an accident. It's part of the control. Because if you're too busy doubting yourself, you're not challenging him. And that's exactly how he keeps the upper hand. The truth is, the shift from charm to control is never about love. It's about ownership. And the sooner you recognize it, the sooner you can decide if you're going to stay on the path he's steering or turn the wheel yourself. At first, you might not even notice it. In the early days, there's still some give and take. He asks how your day went. He listens to your stories. He nods and responds in ways that make you feel heard. But little by little, the balance starts to tilt. Conversations that used to be two-sided begin to feel one-sided. Your updates about your life are met with quick, distracted responses before the topic gets redirected back to him. If you're excited about something, he might smile, but somehow the moment ends with a bigger story about his own success or a challenge he's facing. It's not always obvious at first, but slowly, his world becomes the center of gravity, and everything you say and do gets pulled toward it. Your needs, your feelings, your goals, they start to take a back seat. It's not that he'll openly say, "I don't care about you." It's more subtle than that. It's in the way he forgets the things that matter to you, but expects you to remember every little detail about him. It's in the way he expects you to rearrange your plans when something comes up for him, but sees your schedule as flexible, optional, and ultimately less important. He becomes the sun, and you're just expected to orbit around him, keeping his life warm and bright while your own light dims. When you're sick, he's annoyed that you can't meet his needs. When you're stressed, somehow the conversation shifts to how your stress is affecting him. When you have an accomplishment, the congratulations might be brief, but you'll hear a long story about how he once did something similar, only bigger or better. In time, you might even stop sharing your wins because you know they'll either be downplayed or overshadowed. And if you try to talk about your needs directly, it's often met with defensiveness or dismissal. You're too sensitive. You're making this about you. You're overreacting. The irony, of course, is that everything is about him. His comfort, his preferences, his ambitions. They take priority every time. You can be in the middle of a crisis, but if he has a minor inconvenience, that's what will demand the attention. Even decisions that should be mutual, how to spend money, where to live, who to spend time with, end up leaning heavily toward what works for him. Your input might be heard, but it's rarely acted on. Over time, you may start telling yourself it's easier not to ask for what you need because it will only cause conflict or lead to disappointment. You adapt to his rhythms, his moods, his wants, until your own are barely recognizable. This isn't love. Love makes space for two people. Love listens without constantly redirecting the spotlight. Love cares about balance, about making sure both partners are supported and valued. What you're experiencing isn't balance, it's hierarchy, and you're not at the top. And here's the dangerous part. The longer you live in that dynamic, the more normal it feels. You stop expecting reciprocity. You convince yourself that your needs aren't that important. You get used to being the background character in your own relationship, the one who cheers from the sidelines while he takes the stage over and over again. But deep down, a part of you knows this isn't how it's supposed to be. That part of you remembers what it feels like to be valued, to be seen, to be heard. And the moment you start listening to that voice again, you begin to realize you don't have to keep living in a world where everything revolves around him. Because your needs aren't secondary, they never were. You just stopped fighting for them in a relationship where you were made to feel like they didn't matter. Good. It's not selfish to take up space in your own life. It's survival. Gaslighting doesn't start with fireworks. It starts quietly. It begins with small contradictions, the kind you can brush off. You'll remember him saying something a certain way, and he'll insist you heard it wrong. Maybe you let it slide, thinking, well, I guess I misheard. But that's the seed being planted. At first, these moments feel like harmless misunderstandings. Then they happen more often. They'll be worse, though. Harmless sex is the path to hell. And if he comes, he'll deny promising something you clearly remember. He'll insist an argument never happened, or that you're exaggerating how bad it was. If you push back, he'll act offended, as if you're accusing him of lying for no reason. It's subtle, calculated erosion. He's not just challenging the facts, he's challenging your grip on them. Over time, you stop trusting your own memory. You begin to second guess whether what you felt was justified, whether what you saw was real, whether what you heard was actually said. And that's the point. The more you doubt yourself, the easier it becomes for him to shape the narrative in a way that benefits him. You could watch him do something with your own eyes, and later he'll tell you it never happened. You could recall a conversation word for word, and he'll insist you're remembering it wrong. If you express hurt, he'll tell you you're too sensitive or reading into things. He'll minimize your emotions until you start wondering if you are in fact overreacting. What makes it so exhausting is that gaslighting doesn't always come during heated arguments. It can happen in casual, everyday moments. You'll mention a plan he agreed to, and he'll claim you never discussed it. You'll recall a boundary you set, and he'll swear you never set it. This constant rewriting of events becomes the background noise of your life, the daily weather. It's always there, eroding your sense of reality little by little. And when you begin to notice patterns, he might even twist that against you. You're paranoid. You're always looking for problems. You need to let things go. The more you try to hold on to the truth, the more he frames you as irrational or unstable. It's psychological warfare disguised as conversation. What's dangerous is how it makes you dependent on him for clarity. If you can't trust your own mind, you start relying on his version of events. And once you rely on his version, he has full control over the narrative. That's when you stop speaking up as much, because you anticipate being told you're wrong. You avoid conflict because you know the fight won't be about the issue. It will be about proving what actually happened, and you'll lose every time. In this constant rewriting of reality doesn't just distort your memory, it distorts your identity. You stop feeling confident in your decisions. You question whether your feelings are valid. You doubt yourself so much that you forget what it felt like to trust your own instincts. And when you can't trust yourself, you're far easier to control. Gaslighting isn't just manipulation, it's a theft. It steals your confidence, your clarity, and your ability to stand firmly in your own truth. The damage is slow, but it's deep. You can come to a point where you believe you're the problem, where you think you need to fix yourself to make the relationship work. It's exactly what he wants, for you to see yourself as broken, so you'll depend on him to hold things together. But here's the truth he doesn't want you to know. You're not broken. You're being broken down. And once you recognize that pattern for what it is, you can start reclaiming the parts of yourself he's tried to erase. Because the weather may be constant now, but storms eventually pass, and you deserve to step into the sunlight where your reality belongs to you again. It often starts with what sounds like concern. He'll tilt his head, soften his voice, and say something like, "I'm only telling you this because I care." The words seem gentle, even thoughtful, but the impact is sharp. It's not actually advice, it's a critique, wrapped neatly in the language of love. Instead of directly saying, "I don't like how you look," he'll say, "You'd look so much better if you just lost a little weight." Instead of openly saying, "I think you're incompetent," he'll offer, "You'd be more organized if you listened to me." It's the kind of help that leaves you feeling smaller, not stronger. This pattern can be confusing because on the surface it looks like he's investing in your growth. After all, isn't advice a sign someone cares? That's the trap. Real advice uplifts you. It's meant to guide, not wound. But his version doesn't aim to help you improve. It aims to point out what's wrong with you over and over until you start to see yourself the way he frames you. And the more you hear it, the more you start to believe it. It can be about anything: how you cook, how you drive, how you talk to people, how you handle stress. Nothing is off limits. And each time he positions himself as the expert you should learn from. If you push back or express hurt, he's quick to respond with, "I'm just trying to help you," or, "Wow, you can't even take constructive criticism?" This shifts the blame back to you, making you feel like the problem isn't his delivery, it's your inability to handle the truth. This form of criticism is especially damaging because it blurs the line between caring and controlling. You might even feel guilty for resenting it because a part of you wonders if he really is trying to make you better. But the truth is, you can tell by the aftermath. Real help leaves you feeling capable, hopeful, and supported. His kind leaves you doubting yourself, questioning your worth, and feeling like you're constantly under evaluation. Over time, this so-called advice chips away at your confidence. You might find yourself hesitating before making choices, wondering if they'll meet his unspoken standards. You start preemptively fixing things that don't even need fixing just to avoid the inevitable commentary. And when you do succeed at something, the praise is either faint or laced with a reminder of how you could have done it better. This behavior isn't just about offering opinions, it's about establishing dominance. By positioning himself as the constant evaluator, he makes himself the standard you have to live up to. It ensures that you're always seeking his approval, always feeling like you're one step away from not being good enough. And that's the real power of insults wrapped in kindness. They keep you striving for validation you'll never fully. The emotional impact runs deeper than the words themselves. It changes the way you see yourself. You start internalizing his voice as your own inner critic. Even when he's not around, you hear it in your head, second-guessing your choices, doubting your abilities. That's when you know it's more than just criticism, it's conditioning. The danger here is that it becomes so normal you stop noticing it's happening. You brush it off as just how he is, or he means well, but deep down, the sting never really goes away. And the longer you accept it, the smaller you start to feel. That's the point. Because people who feel small are easier to control. But here's the truth he hopes you'll never realize. You were capable before his help, and you'll be capable after it. Real love doesn't shrink you, it expands you. And the moment you recognize that his advice is just control in a prettier package, you can stop unwrapping it, hand it back, and walk away knowing you never needed it to grow. With him, love isn't a steady presence, it's a performance, and you only get to see it when the conditions are just right. In the beginning, he might have showered you with affection, making you feel cherished and secure, but over time you start to notice a pattern. His tenderness, his compliments, his moments of closeness, they don't come freely anymore. They're rewards, handed out when you've done something that makes him feel good about himself. It's less about loving you for who you are and more about loving you for what you can do for him. When you meet his expectations, when you admire him, when you make him look good in front of others, suddenly he's affectionate. He'll hug you, praise you, tell you how lucky he is to have you. But when you disagree with him, set a boundary, or fail to give him the admiration he craves, the warmth disappears. His voice gets colder, the physical closeness fades. Sometimes he'll withdraw completely, leaving you to wonder what you did wrong. This on-again, off-again affection keeps you on edge, always trying to earn back the version of him who was loving. What makes it so powerful is how unpredictable it can be. You can't fully anticipate what will bring the love back or what will make it vanish, so you start overanalyzing your every move, trying to figure out the formula that keeps him happy. You go out of your way to avoid conflict, to praise him more, to suppress your own needs if you think they might upset him. Without realizing it, you begin to measure your worth by how much love he's giving you at any moment. This isn't just emotional manipulation, it's training. Like a teacher giving gold stars to a student, he's conditioning you to associate affection with compliance. Over time, you may stop asking yourself, "Do I feel loved?" and start asking, "What do I need to do to be loved?" That shift is dangerous because it keeps you stuck in a cycle where your happiness depends entirely on his approval. And when the love does show up, it can feel intoxicating. After days or weeks of distance, one moment of affection can feel like proof that everything is okay again. You cling to it, convincing yourself the worst is behind you, only to find the coldness creeping back in when you fail to keep meeting his unspoken terms. It's like being given sips of water in the desert. You're so thirsty for it, you don't stop to question why you're being kept thirsty in the first place. In healthy love, affection is unconditional. It's there in the good moments and the bad. It doesn't vanish when you have an opinion, when you make a mistake, or when you stop centering someone else's ego. But in his world, love is transactional. It's not about mutual care. It's about him getting what he wants. The tragedy is that you may start believing this is normal. You might tell yourself all relationships have ups and downs, that people can't always be affectionate. And while that's true, it's a difference between natural fluctuations and deliberate withholding. This isn't about moods, it's about power. Once you see it for what it is, it becomes painfully clear his affection was never truly about you. It was about control. And love that comes with strings attached isn't love, it's a leash. The sooner you recognize the leash, the sooner you can loosen it, drop it, and walk away knowing you deserve a love that doesn't disappear the moment you stop feeding someone's ego. It doesn't happen all at once. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly feel like a stranger to yourself. It's gradual, so slow you barely notice it. In the beginning, you're still you, the person with dreams, hobbies, opinions, and quirks that make you unique. But over time, you start making small adjustments to avoid conflict. You stop mentioning certain topics because you know they'll spark criticism. You laugh less at the jokes he doesn't like. You tone down parts of your personality that once felt natural simply because they seem to annoy him. At first, it feels harmless. You tell yourself you're just compromising for the sake of the relationship. But what you're really doing is chipping away at yourself bit by bit, sanding down your edges so you can fit more neatly into the box he's built for you. Before long, you can't remember the last time you made a decision without considering how he would react. Every choice, what you wear, who you see, how you spend your free time, passes through the filter of, will this keep him happy? It's exhausting, but you keep doing it because you're trying to keep the peace. You hope that if you just avoid the landmines, things will be smoother between you. But the problem is, the more you shrink yourself to make him comfortable, the less space there is for you in your own life. You start to feel invisible, even to yourself. You're still there physically, but the vibrant parts of you, the ones that laughed freely, pursued passions, spoke your mind, are fading. And it's not just about avoiding arguments. It's about the quiet dread that comes with knowing your real self isn't fully accepted. You realize you can't be completely open with him without paying a price, whether that price is his disapproval, his anger, or his withdrawal. So you learn to edit yourself. You become careful with your words, careful with your emotions, careful with your desires. And little by little, careful becomes your default way of living. The worst part is that you might even forget what the unfiltered version of you looked like. When someone asks about your interests, you pause because you can't remember the last time you pursued them. When you have free time, you're not sure what to do with it because you spent so long centering your life around him. Your identity becomes less about who you are and more about who he needs you to be. And in that shrinking, there's grief, a quiet mourning for the person you used to be. But you may not let yourself feel it fully because acknowledging that loss would mean admitting just how much of yourself you've given up. Instead, you tell yourself this is just what relationships require. You tell yourself it's worth it if it keeps the house calm, if it keeps him from shutting down or lashing out. But here's the truth. Peace built on your silence isn't peace. It's surrender. And surrendering yourself to keep someone else comfortable isn't love. It's erasure. You deserve to exist in your full, unedited form. You deserve relationships where your voice is not only allowed but valued, where your dreams aren't seen as threats, and where your presence doesn't have to be smaller to make someone else feel bigger. The moment you realize that the version of you he accepts is only a fraction of who you are, is the moment you get to decide, do you keep shrinking or do you start reclaiming the space that was yours all along? Because your life is not meant to be lived in someone else's shadow. It's meant to be lived in your own light. At the heart of it all, a narcissistic husband doesn't build a marriage. He builds a stage where he is the star and you're expected to play the supporting role. It starts with charm that feels like love, but slowly turns into control. Your needs are sidelined, reality gets rewritten, criticism wears the mask of help, affection becomes conditional, and your identity begins to fade as you work endlessly to keep the peace. This isn't the give and take of a healthy relationship. It's a cycle designed to keep you small, unsure, and dependent. But here's the truth that cuts through all of it. You are not here to be controlled, managed, or molded into someone else's ideal. You are here to live fully, to be seen, to be loved without conditions. Recognizing these patterns is not weakness. It's the first act of reclaiming your power. And once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. You can choose to step out of the shadow, rebuild the parts of you that were dimmed, and create a life where your worth is not measured by how well you serve someone else's ego. Because love is not meant to break you down, it's meant to lift you up. And you deserve nothing less. Thank you